My father is a veteran. He is a retired colonel in the United States Air Force. In fact, I lived on the Air Force Academy the exact same time that Waldo was going to the Air Force Academy. We are the same age. We have the same degree. We found that we have a lot in common. And I am incredibly proud of Waldo for all the work he's devoted to our country. And I'm also very proud of my daddykins, that's what I call him, for the years of service that he's given to our country. And thanks to my father's success, I'm a veteran too. Only my war wasn't Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iraq, but the Turf War. And I hated every single one of them. Fact is, moving is a traumatic experience, third, next to death and divorce. So how did I survive? Well, I learned to take control of what I could. I became a master at packing and organizing. Before the movers had finished unloading the moving van, my room was up and running. Barbie and Ken had moved into their new pad, and every stuffed bunny, bear, and unicorn was lined up in precise formation on my bed, exactly as it had been in the house before, and ready for the colonel's inspection. You know, they say hardship builds character. I'm a character, all right. My friends used to laugh at my perfectly clean bedroom, my compulsive list making, my overwhelming urge to organize. But hardship builds more than character. The upheaval of my childhood taught me how to create order from chaos. And it laid the foundation for the systems that I use today as the Productivity Pro, the ones that I use to help professionals make every minute on the job count. And I know it is so hard to talk about productivity today. People are saying, why in the world would I want to be more productive? I'm already working as hard as I can. And in this world of do more with less, it is really hard to focus on productivity when we're all suffering from a case of the overs. Overworked, overscheduled, overcommitted, overstressed, overwhelmed, over it. But the good news is that productivity is not the enemy. A lack of focus is. When you clearly define what your priorities are and focus on them, you are able to accomplish your goals sooner. And when you perform at your peak, you're able to leave the office on time, every time. And in order to do this, I'd like to offer some strategies, 3 simple time management techniques. First, I want to talk about moving a mountain. Growing up on the Air Force Academy at the base of Colorado Springs, I woke up to see Pikes Peak every day. The mountains that interfere with our plans, the obstacles, and the email, and the voicemail, and the interruptions, and the paper, and all of the things that get in the way of allowing us to impart and accomplish our goals. And what we're going to see is that when the why is important enough, the how becomes easier. Second, to move a minute. Once you've moved a mountain and you see clear of the obstacles, how do you make every minute, every moment of your day count so that you can focus, so that you can leave the office earlier with less stress, with more to show for it? And the third is to move on. Once you've eliminated obstacles and you have a path clear to dedicate your time to, how do you make sure that you're spending your time in ways that are important to you? That the way that you spend your time actually reflects the things that are important to you. Move a mountain, move a minute, and move on. Let's talk first about the mountain. You know, statistics show that the average person moves 7 times in his or her lifetime. 7 times, that was a good year. My father was lucky enough to move up the ranks very quickly in the Air Force. And with every promotion he got, we got a bigger house. More boxes to pack. More uncertainty in our lives. My 2 brothers and I quickly learned the drill. You probably have done this yourself. You open the box, you fold the flaps, tape it shut, put the paper in, right? Heavy items first, seal, label, stack. We got that down. Clockwork, clockwork, clockwork. We lived a real fast-track life. I lived a fast-track life. I finished high school at 16. Finished my undergraduate degree at 19. I finished my MBA at 21. People would say to me, "What's your hurry?" You know, and to this day, I don't have a real good answer for that. I was perpetually on the move, pushing to accomplish it without ever really defining what it was. And moving around without a purpose like this started taking a real toll on my career, on my health, on my family. Without the why, the purpose beneath what I was doing, the how became harder and harder. Soon I was working 14-hour days. I was traveling 3 days out of the month. I was slowly burning out. I was 24. And without having a focus in my life, things very soon got out of control. So I knew that I needed to move a mountain. For me, it was my blind pursuit of success, an overwhelming sense of obligation, my deeply held fear of failure. They didn't have a place in my life, and it took me a long time to figure out how to pack them up, how to label them appropriately, and how to move them out of my life. Vilfredo Pareto is a famous, now famous, Italian economist who in the 17th century found out that 20% of the Italians had 80% of that country's wealth. He called the 20% that had the 80% of the wealth the critical few, and the others he called the trivial many. My dad was a pack rat. He had more tools in his garage than he could ever use. He had 20% of the tools that he used 80% of the time. How many of you have a closet full of clothes, most of which you never wear? You wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. My father had a box of strings. The funniest part about that was that it was labeled string too short to use. He would wash Ziploc bags. Anyone? You still do? Save tin foil. He would say things like, "Eat everything on your plate, sweetheart, because the poor children are starving." And the funny thing about every time we packed, we'd have the boxes lined up in precise formation, ready to be moved out of the house, still taped shut from the previous move. My father used to put a moving sticker on each box. There was a moving sticker this high on a few of those boxes. I said, "Daddykins, why don't we just put those out of the trash?" "Don't touch those boxes, Laura. There are important tools in there I'll need at the next house." whatever. So we moved those boxes around with us. And so many of us today in our work are moving boxes of stuff around. We have papers that we've never even looked at. Do you have files that you don't even have the foggiest idea what's in there? A pile of paper you haven't even looked at in a year. When you look at moving your mountains, those trivial many things are all the things that you need to move. They are the obstacles that are getting in the way of you being able to accomplish your goals and not focusing on what's important. Think about a typical day. Oh, let's make it an easy day. Let's say you only have 10 things to do. Woohoo, easy day. You have this to-do list. You're ready to go. You get to work and stuff starts happening to you, right? People walk in and interrupt you and the phone goes off and you get an email and let's say you get a little block of time. You can actually pick something off of your to-do list. So what do you do first? The easy one. Most people will say, what can I knock off? And you check it off and you go, whoo, did you see how productive I am? Look at that. So you're checking stuff off. Don't you get a sense of accomplishment when you check things off your list? That feels good, doesn't it? And at the end of the day, let's say you had a really productive day. You have 9 out of 10 things checked off. What's left? The most important one. And you say to yourself, I worked hard all day. How can this be that now I have to stay late and do this? This is not fair. You know, my dad has an expression that he says, sweetheart, a fair is something that comes to town once a year and it has a merry-go-round, and this ain't it. Okay, everybody say that with me. A fair is something that comes to town once a year and has a merry-go-round, and this ain't it. Part of what we have to do is learn to recognize that productivity is not about quantity. It's not about the number of things that you do in a day. I think time management training has done people an incredible disservice over the years in teaching that somehow activity equates to accomplishment. Every day you must move a mountain. You have to ask yourself, if I do nothing else today, what are the 2 most important things that I need to get done and get to work and get moving? At the end of the day, if you only have 4 things out of your 10 checked off and 2 of them are the most important, guess what? That was a more productive day. Because what you're talking about is value, performance, priority. It's not the number of things or the hours your butt is in your seat working. Do you know people who could be more productive in 6 hours than someone else in 12? And you look in their office and, oh, they look incredibly busy, don't they? But you know they're not doing anything. So move a mountain and focus on the why. And what's really important is that you want to get out of the office and get home to the things that you love. The second step is move a minute. Move a mountain, move a minute. Other than the military, the population of people who move most frequently are employees of Fortune 500 companies. They move on average once every 4 years. And if you don't move a lot like we did, moving can actually be kind of fun. The transition to a new house can be rather exciting. It wasn't for me, but it could be. And it can be incredibly overwhelming if you don't have a plan. I remember the first time my mother let me pack the basement. Now you have to understand, that was a big deal for me back then. I went down and for the first time realized how much junk we had. And I said to my mom, we are never going to get this packed. We only have 4 days to move up, move out, move on. She said, we'll get it done, sweetheart. Just focus on one shelf at a time. Go over there and box that up. She was one disciplined, determined woman. And in no time at all, she'd have all those boxes packed, lined up in formation, and waiting for the colonel's inspection. But a lot of people underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to actually move. They're so excited about the new house and buying and selling that that they don't actually have a plan. And that's where things start to go wrong. Movers are given improper directions. Things are broken. Things aren't unpacked in the correct order. And no one knows the importance of a plan better than your moving company. They have a checklist, a moving checklist that they use to help you schedule and plan what you should do 6 months out, 3 months out, 1 month out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, 1 day out. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't listen to them and they don't follow the checklist. They say things like, well, I don't have time to plan. That's kind of like saying you don't have time to go to time management training. Kind of an irony. You don't have time not to plan. If you don't plan, you will not be ready when the moving van pulls up ready to put all your stuff on the van. Dale Carnegie is one of my heroes, and he used to tell a story about 2 woodcutters who would go to the woods to chop wood. And they would get paid based upon how much wood they would chop. The first one went and worked hard all day. He chopped wood furiously. He never took a break. He didn't eat lunch, just long enough to wipe his brow and keep working. The second woodcutter also worked hard, but he took a few breaks now and then, even took 20 minutes to sit under a tree and have lunch. And at the end of the day, the first woodcutter was stunned to find out that the second woodcutter had actually chopped more wood than he did. And he said, how is this possible? I didn't even take a break. You took your lunch under a tree. How did you do that? The second woodcutter said, what you didn't notice is that while I was taking my lunch, I was sharpening my axe. And a lot of people are running around hacking at things with a dull axe, thinking that if they work harder and faster and more furiously that they're going to outpace the person who spent a little bit of time proactively to plan long-term and to figure out what would be the most efficient. You know, I love the movie Hercules. When you have kids, you have a collection of Disney movies, yes? There's a scene in the movie Hercules where he is battling the Hydra, a mythical creature. And he is swinging his sword furiously and fast, and he's getting a gain on the Hydra, and all of a sudden, he lops off his head. Victory! And then 3 spring up in its place. 3 more heads. Oh, so he fights harder, and he fights more quickly. He lops those 3 heads off, and now he has 9 heads. And panicked, his trainer, his hero trainer, shouts, forget the head slicing thing. It's not working. Do you ever feel that way at work? You delete 1 email and 3 pop up. Jeez. You finish 1 project, your boss gives you 3 more. You return a voicemail and there's 3 more, right? And we feel so overwhelmed by work that we work harder and we work faster, and work starts to spill over into our night times and into our weekends, and we are desperately trying to give up. Forget the head slicing thing. It's not working. If you had a 30-hour day, would that help? Would you get so much more done? Would your 30-hour day soon become just as busy as your 24-hour day is now? You'd probably just fill it up. There'd always be more projects to start and people to see and places to go and calls to make. So the reality of time is that there will never, ever be enough time. You will never finish. And for a lot of people, that's really good news. Because I really believe there is time to do the things that are truly important. And the hard thing is to figure out, what do you do with the rest? How do you delegate, simplify, streamline, eliminate? Have you ever asked the question, if I didn't do this task, would anybody notice? That's a darn good question. So moving a minute means when you have moved the mountain and now you are focused on your high priority task, how can you ensure that you stick there? If someone comes in and they say, hey, got a minute? Do they really mean one? That's like a 10-minute interruption right there. So learning how to open your mouth and saying, you know, I have my back up against the wall right now on this deadline. I would love to talk with you about this. Can I call you at 3? And let them see you write it down. And they walk out going, I have an appointment. And that feels psychologically like you've taken care of them. It means not multitasking. If you're supposed to be finishing that project, that report summary by noon, and it's 8 o'clock now, a lot of people get in there and say, okay, let's see, I'm going to start that report. No, need a latte to get me going. Go to Starbucks, get a latte, come back. Okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, meeting notes. They're in here somewhere. Oh, look, here's the supply order. Oh, forgot to fax that. Better go do that right now. Here, fax the supply order, back over here. Where was I? Oh, yeah, meeting. Where? Okay, here's my meeting notes. Oh, it doesn't have those stats. I should check my email, because Karen emailed the report from the meeting last week. They'll be there. Let's see where. Oh, 8 new messages. I should check them. Where was I? Oh, good. Meeting notes. Okay. Oh, here they are. Oh, look at that. She doesn't have the statistics in there. I'll just call her and say, hey, Karen, I really... What? Oh, tickets for the show. You're kidding. How did you get those? What time? Oh, 4 o'clock. I'd love to. Oh, thank you. I'll see you then. Okay. Oh, stats for the meeting. Oh, voicemail. Gee, I'm going to do it myself. Calculator. Oh, my gosh. Look at this drawer. This is a mess. Can't find anything. I should clean it. Oh, my gosh. Oh, John, hi. It's 12. Oh, time for the meeting? Oh, I just seem to get anything done today. I just don't know what's going on. Does that look familiar? We're just like these little butterflies. Flip, 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 flip. Does anybody have a bunch of half-done projects all over their desk? Yeah. Instead of being a butterfly, during the day you have to think of yourself like a postage stamp. You're going to stick to one thing till you get there. You come in the morning and you have your latte. You know where your notes are. You get started. You see the email. Nope, do those later. Someone comes in. Whoop, need to talk to you at 3 o'clock. Keep doing that. Whoop, where are the notes? Hey, Karen, talk to you later about the show. Thank you. Here we go. Okay. And then, have you ever noticed that once you get that important task done, the rest of the day just feels so much better? Have you ever noticed how freeing that is to have that sense? So move a minute. Make sure when you've moved the mountains that you are now focused on your goals. Watch the interruptions. Watch the multitasking. Ensure that you are making every minute, every moment count. And the third part of this strategy is move on. Move on with your plans so that you can create the life that you want and ensure that your time is spent in ways that are meaningful to you. How you label a box is just as critical as how you pack it. My dad used to make us label in permanent big black marker, right, what was inside the box, whether the contents were fragile, which way was up, and which room it went into. And he was right. Moving companies will tell you that a properly labeled box has much better odds of arriving undamaged and getting into the right room. But a lot of people don't label them correctly, and I wonder if that's because they have a hard time even figuring out what goes where or what's in what room. It's very hard to pack and very hard to label if you can't separate the treasure from the trash. As you can probably guess, I dislike clutter. And I dislike a lot of the excess that tends to come with it. We are a society of stuff. You get a little bit of money, you buy a little bit of stuff. Get some more money, get some more stuff. Now you have to have a bigger house to keep the stuff. You got to clean the stuff, store the stuff, maintain the stuff, move the stuff. Stuff. And when we have all this junk, it's really hard to get a handle on what it is we even have. Labels are a very important tool. For example, you could go to your closet, that one that you just admitted you don't wear all the clothes. And you could put a label on everything. Get a little slip of paper and safety pins and label every single item 1 year from today. And when you wear the item, you take off the label. And at the end of that year, it's very easy to go through and see what you have not worn. Do you have the guts? Those are the things that get packed up, labeled, and shipped out. My ex-husband got real upset when I put a label on him. I don't know why I said that. But labels are only meaningful if they mean what they say. A lot of people say, I'm going on vacation. They call it vacation. I was reading an article